Spirituality, as I always share when people ask any question about spirituality, what is it, or this, is spirituality is not something very esoteric. What spirituality literally means, the word itself literally simply means pertaining to spirit, of the spirit. And so it's the opposite worldview of a material worldview. So materialistic worldview says, this is who I am, this body. Me, I am about 5 feet, 3 inches, about 115, 120 pounds worth of matter. That's me. Been here for 46 years, wear orange. You know, this is me. That's the materialistic standpoint. The spiritual standpoint says, that's just my body. Who I am is spirit. And the reason that that's important is if I'm identifying as body as matter, well, then I'm seeing others as body and matter. And so if I'm over here at my height, my weight, my form, well, then we've got all this empty space over here. And then Dr. Tadeji's over here with his height and his weight and his form. And then there's some space. And then Shreya's over there with her height and her weight and her form. And we're all just individual, separate, disconnected forms, objects, matter. Spirituality says, no, 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 no. I'm spirit. Yeah, I have a form, but I am the spirit, I am the soul. I am love, I am consciousness, I am divine. Whatever name we want to use for it. Because the concept of spirituality, of course, transcends religion. So it doesn't matter what name we use for the spirit. But that's what I am, and that's what you are, and that's what she is. And because there's no place that spirit ends or begins, there's no place I end and you begin. No place you end and she begins. We're actually all connected. And the reason and the way that this ties in so much to the environment is, well, suddenly the people in the world around us, the animals in the world around us, the trees and the mountains and the rivers in the world around us are not objects for us to use for our pleasure. I mean, in the same way that we all intuitively understand that rape is wrong. Well, what is rape? Rape is the assumption that that form, that object, should be used by me, that I have the right to use that object for my own pleasure, that that object itself has no rights. It's an object. I'm an object who needs something. That's an object who's going to give it to me. And so I'm going to snatch it. I'm going to use it. It's the same mentality for which we cut down trees to graze cattle. It's the same mentality in which we divert water to grow crops that aren't meant to be there so I can have more money in my pocket. And I'm not saying this to minimize violent rape, but to expand our concept of abusing aspects of the creation because we see them as objects for our pleasure. We see them as objects for our use, for whatever my end goal is, whether it's to satisfy a sensual pleasure, whether it's to put money in my pocket, whether it's to make my company number one, whatever my goal is. If I think that everything else in the world is just an object for me to use in the fulfillment of that goal, well, then that's where we end up abusing our environment. exploiting our environment. So spirituality says, no, 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 no. We're spirit. And that same spirit runs through all of us. And so we're all connected. We're all one. We're in different forms. But we're all one. You could go down to Ganga with an infinite number of containers and fill her up and into all these containers, and she would take the different form of each container, but ultimately each container is just Ganga. You know, the other analogy is the sun's reflection in different containers. Well, it's the same sun in all of them. The reflection is a little different depending on the size, the shape, the color of the container, the amount of water in the container. But the sun is the same. And so when we recognize, well, the spirit is the same, we're actually all one. We're all waves of the same ocean. Well, then, if I'm not an object, well, then neither are you. And neither is that tree, and neither is that cow, and neither is that chicken, and neither is that poor child or woman who's working in a sweatshop so that I can have more for cheaper. It's all part of the same oneness. And so spirituality inevitably is going to lead us into a lifestyle that cares for the environment, because we understand it's part of us. And whether it's a tree, whether it's a river, whether it's an animal, whether it's a child in India or Bangladesh or Africa, or a woman working in a sweatshop, working in a cotton field that's full of pesticides so they have cancer, their kids have birth defects, to satisfy my desire to fill my emotional emptiness with things. But suddenly, they're all me. Suddenly, they're not objects. It's me and that tree. It's me and that river. It's me and that child. It's me and that woman. And that's what deep spirituality gives us. And so we benefit, of course, because science has shown that people who are spiritual and religious actually are healthier. I won't share the statistics with you now, but I have them should anyone be interested. So we benefit physically, emotionally, and the earth benefits. And all of those with whom we share it today and with whom we will hopefully share it in the future, they all benefit.